So in this video, we're going to talk about how to write out a proof for congruent triangles. Now, no, this is not a skill that you will use in real life. You will never be asked to prove that two triangles are congruent to somebody else. But you will be asked to prove your argument. Or if you are a lawyer, you're defending someone else. And the steps that you learn in writing proofs are what are going to help you in that long run. Maybe you're a police officer and you're trying to build a case versus someone else. Again, these are life skills, building an argument. So you have a reason and then you back it up, right? You have your statement and you back it up with some reason for why you did that action. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. So when we're writing a two-column proof, the things we're going to do, we're going to follow these 3 steps. We're going to investigate the information they gave us. So we're going to mark that picture with all the information they gave us, and then we're going to look for our special cases. We're going to look for those vertical angles and those shared sides. Remember, the shared side is also known as the reflexive property. That should be an E there. All right, so it's also known as the reflexive property. The second thing we're going to do is gather the evidence. So everything we marked on our picture, we're going to mark down onto our paper. And then we're going to back that up with why we were allowed to do that. So maybe it's a definition of something. Maybe it's just because it was what was given to us. Okay, we're going to back up the information that we had. And the last thing is we're going to close that case. And we can close the case with either a congruency statement, so triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF because of, and then remember this is going to be our side, angle, side, angle, side, angle, or HL, right? That's how we would prove that those triangles are congruent. The last thing we could possibly have is known as CPCTC. Now this only comes after the congruency statement, and I'm going to show you one example of that. And we did talk about it briefly in our first note sheet. It stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, so here's our first proof. Again, remember, we're investigating. So we're going to come over here and we're going to look at what they gave us. They told me that AB was congruent to DE. So I'm going to mark AB and DE. All right, so I've done that one. And then they say angle B is congruent to angle E. All right, mark that. And then they say BC is congruent to EF. Okay, and now I'm going to see which congruency statement I'm going to use. So notice I have a side, an angle, and a side. So these were congruent by SAS. So it's a SASY triangle. So the last step is to come down here and put our statements. The first thing you should always put are your given pieces. So my first given information that I used was that AB was congruent to DE. And why could I say that? Because they gave it to me. Okay, the next piece of information I used was that angle B is congruent to angle E. And again, they gave that to me, so it's given. And the last piece of information I used there was BC is congruent to EF. And again, that was because it was given to me. All right, so I've used all 3 of my givens. And the last part of my statement is always going to be what they told us to prove. So I'm going to write down here, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. And the reason was because of SAS, right? Side, angle, side. And now you have written your first proof. Congratulations, I'm super proud of you. Keep moving along. So let's check out that next one. So here they've given us that LN and MO bisect each other. Remember, bisect means to cut in half into two equal pieces. So I'm going to go to line LN. So here is LN, and I'm going to say that LP is congruent to PN. They also said that it bisected MO. So now I'm going to go to MO, and I'm going to say MP is congruent to PO. Now this last piece of information that I'm going to put in here are the vertical angles that are present here. Remember, vertical angles are not given to you. It's just something you are allowed to imply. Okay? All right, and then again, I'm going to go to my letters and I'm going to say, all right, I've got a side, and then I've got an angle and a side. So this one again is SAS, just like that last one. Now building this argument is going to be a little bit harder because they didn't directly give us the pieces we needed in the proof. But the first step you should always do is write down the given information. So they told us that LN and MO bisect each other. And again, that was because it was given. Now we have to state what we got from that information. So the first piece we got from that was that LP was congruent to PN. This is the part that I know everybody's going to forget. So star it, highlight it, underline it, do what you need to do to make sure you remember this piece. This piece here, the reason why we could do this is because it is the definition of a bisector. All right. The next piece of information we took from that was that MP was congruent to PO. And again, this is for the same reason, right? It was the definition of the bisector. Okay, so we've dealt with the given information and we've gotten our pieces from there. The next thing that we found was that MPO. Notice that MPL. Notice that I did not say angle P because the vertical angles here are going to be the same angle, right? They're both angle P. So we have to be clear with it and we have to label these with 3 letters. So angle MPL is congruent to angle OPN. And we can say this because vertical angles are congruent. Now we have all of our pieces and we can write our final statement at the bottom. Again, we just copy what they told us to say. So triangle LPM is congruent to triangle NPO, and it was because of side angle side. I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to start another video for the other proofs, so please check that one out as well. And remember to come to class very prepared and ready to ask questions.